I just chased what was superficial for so long. I chased immediate gratification. I chased all the things that I thought looked good. You mentioned it earlier, looked good on the outside when I was dying on the inside. And that was that anchor of people, that anchor of recovery, that anchor of a spiritual life. So coaching was a natural in for this idea of bringing that to men, and seeing out in the community, seeing out in the world, men who are stuck, who are lost, who are dying every single day. What I believe, what I know, a revelation that God gave me in a vision was seeing men grow strong and sturdy like oak trees. As you get in and start to uncover some of those things that are painful, those emotions that have held you back from building that emotional resilience, and then you can discover what that is.
This is Rock Bottom with Ryan. No sugarcoating, no filters. The pain, the chaos, the truth. No bullshit. Just recovery.
All right, welcome to another episode of Rock Bottom with Ryan. Here with my guest today, Britt. Britt, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Excited and honored to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you here too. Been looking forward to this and getting to know what you're doing with coaching and helping guys grow and all the stuff you're doing. So, and to hear about your book, The Oak Tree, as well. So, The Oak Tree Source, I believe, is what it's called.
That's it. Yeah.
So excited to hear about that. But first and foremost, as you know, we talk a lot about recovery on here. If you have a sober date, what is it and where you're from and what was your drink or drug of choice, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm from Denver, Colorado. Was originally born in Memphis, Tennessee, and so my mom and dad got Rocky Mountain fever the year before I was born, and they're like, "We're moving to Denver, Colorado," and so that's where I grew up, and that's where all of my formative years happened, and not so well-formed years happen when it comes to drinking and drugs and all of those things that come around with it. The emotional part of that too, that just tore me up for so many years. And so with that being said, to kind of start it off here, my clean and sober date is 9/19 of 2005. So
Wow.
I just celebrated 20 years last September, man. And it was awesome. And obviously every day that I'm clean and sober is as we know, is a gift from God, and there, but for his grace we go. But this one was a little bit more special. Obviously you get a little bit of a milestone with 2 decades put together, but I was back at my club, the Dragon's Den in Denver, Colorado, got my 20-year chip. My wife was there. Many of the friends that I got sober with were there. And I will tell you I'll tell you more about that journey, but it was a really special day. It was the 8:00 meeting on Saturday morning there at the Dragon's Den, and my first sponsor was there. And so I am not always at meetings. My recovery has taken me to other places, and I'll talk about that more later, but it was just such a special day to be able to celebrate, obviously, with the people I love. My mom was there, so that was the first time that my mom had been to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and she got to get a feel for just what happens in those meetings, man,
Awesome.
and God moving. I don't know that
Yeah.
I see God anywhere stronger, moving people's hearts, are desiring him more than I do see in recovery. And so that's why I've always been still connected to it, doing it in other ways. And so it was a great day. Got my 20-year chip. It was passed around to everybody. They prayed upon it, and just an amazing day, and catching up with my first sponsor. And I've got a story about him that actually has to be told really from the onset here. I was 25 when so I had tried an outpatient rehab. I had gotten to a spot where I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm beaten. I'm in that pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization
Yeah.
place for many, many reasons. But little did I know that I had more to go. So I walk into the Dragon's Den, I was 25, and there he is. And that gentleman was my ninth grade social studies teacher.
Wow. Small
Yes.
world.
Heck yeah, man. And I'm like, holy moly. Okay, yes, I need to be here. I wasn't ready, and I was scared shitless because I knew I was gonna get help from that guy. And I'm like, "Ah, shoot, look, I stayed for the meeting. I did make it through the whole meeting, but I turned around and left and had, 6 more years to go, of beating myself up, and, and that happened so many different ways, getting myself into positions where I was out of control. And in one particular story, I was at a good buddy of mine's house. This would have been when I came back from college, my summer coming back from my first year of college. And these are just a couple of stories of where I got myself to as a result of drug and alcohol abuse. We were at a bar, we had so at his parents' house, we made these margaritas, these enormously large margaritas. I had 3 of those things, and I'm like, okay, dude, I'm well on my way. By the time we get to the bar, I'm serving myself behind the bar. I'm serving myself. I'm like, I'm not waiting for these dudes. And when he walked down to the other end of the bar, I tipped that thing and was, serving myself. And then as that night proceeded, it ended with me and a buddy of mine getting boxed in by a couple of cars, and fists started flying into our windows. I ended up breaking my jaw that night. That morning, we got back to my buddy's house, put this would have been early 90s, mind you. So I put a Mickey's 40-ounce malt liquor from the fridge on my jaw, just to get
that was my first drink ever. Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh man, I'm hurting. This is not good. I need to sleep. Put that thing on there, slept for a few hours, woke up, couldn't swallow anymore. Yeah, man. And so a few hours later, I was in surgery, getting my jaw rewired. And those were some of the places I found myself in, or some of the places or situations where it's like, dude, you're out of control.
Yeah.
And there, but for God's grace, I go. And at that time in the early 90s, hadn't really, I was more of an alcohol and marijuana guy. Shortly after that, found cocaine, ecstasy, all of those things, and took it to a completely other level. Towards the end, was smoking a lot of meth, snorting meth, eating meth. I was never a needle guy. I was never a needle guy.
Yeah, me either.
And so, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I did as much damage as I possibly could there. And so whatever, I call myself really a 3-time winner, an alcoholic, an addict, and a codependent. And so a lot of what alcohol and drugs did for me was allowed me to not descend inside with all I lived with a lot of shame. I lived with a lot of failed expectations. I was a pretty good athlete going through in my younger years, was a state championship quarterback, was drafted by the Houston Astros in baseball, and had a lot of expectations upon me. And then obviously those expectations I put upon myself. And so part of that, that started in my childhood.
Yeah.
There was talent that was there from a young age, and it's like, this guy can do something. And I got lost. I got buried under those expectations. And what I figured out was, if I performed well, I would be loved. And so that preceded the 17 years of my life. So for that first drink I had when I was 14, was Johnny Walker Red. Took a couple of huge swigs of that bottle, hanging out at a friend's house where the parents weren't there, and dude, I'm in the next dimension.
Were your parents very big drinkers? Was it like around much growing up?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yes and no. They had their moments. They enjoyed it. the obviously part of culture where they grew up. It was part of being a part of and being hospitable and doing those things. And so I saw it. I definitely saw it growing up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man, I took it to another level. And shoot, that started a 17-year run, basically from about 14 to 31 years old, where it ended. And I found myself at 31 working in real estate, selling real estate, and was doing so. I, at the turn of the century, 2000, had back surgery, had a discectomy preceding 2 years. So that would have been at my 31st year. I had played softball with buddies, snorted a whole bundle of cocaine, drank all the alcohol. I was actually watching my dad's house sitting. And that morning I woke up. I couldn't hardly walk because I had such sciatic pain. I had such mental pain, heart and emotional pain. I'm just curled up in my dad's foyer, like, where the heck did it go wrong? And that was really, that was one of many bottoms, but I had a moment of clarity there. And I'm like, okay, you're either going to die, you're either going to be in jail, or maybe you might be able to salvage something. But so by that time, my ball playing days were over. Worked a bunch of jobs, trying to, say, okay, I'm going to make a bunch of I'm a good salesman. I'm going to make a bunch of money. I'm going to do all these things. And I was just freaking dying inside, man. And
Is that kind of a shot to the ego, or like
yes,
not making it in like sports and stuff, and kind of humbling you a little sooner than you expected? Or did that affect you in your persona?
there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. So when that ended, it ended way too soon, in my opinion, and it did. I was done playing ball by the time I was 22, 21 actually. And then, working, doing all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, from that moment on, what identity I had was wrapped up in being a ball player. And that's how I got approved of. That's how I got loved. That's how I got attention. It's like, oh, Britt, man, you can do this and that. And we love being around you, dude. You're a fun loving guy, and people know you. Everybody knows you. And it's like, and then that went away. And I'm like, who the heck am I? And
yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm going to continue to take this drug and alcohol idea as far as I can take it. And, man, obviously there was a lot of good times. I was also, I found myself, the story I told you about getting boxed in and getting my jaw broken. I mean, I was also the drunkest guy at the company party as well.
Yeah.
At our annual real estate Christmas party. Russian Ukrainian buddy of mine's like, Britt, you need to try these. Beer with the shot of vodka in it. He called it the Russian army drink. Putting those away, dude. And it's like, oh man, I am now completely out of control. The owners of our company are here, managing brokers here, just shaking his head like, oh, this dude is done. And so it was constantly searching. And it's a really good question you bring up, Ryan, about the ego and identity and chasing or just trying to find any anchor that I could hang my hat on that could give me any meaning or any significance out of my life. And as I got into recovery, it's like, okay, man, I found out that I was looking for God the entire time. And I was looking in all the wrong places, in the quick fix, in the escaping from my dome, all of the stress, the anxiety, all of the stuff that I could not comprehend about my experience and what was happening and why I just could not get things together, man. And so doing all of that work in sobriety, it became very clear to me that the entire time before I actually developed a relationship with God, I was looking for him, but I was looking for him in all the wrong places. And
did you have a relationship with him at any point growing up? Like, were you ever kind of a faith-based person, or did you go to church and stuff, or did it not kind of hit you until you went to AA and stuff?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Catholic Church, was baptized, got my first communion in the Catholic Church. And by the time I was 10 years old and could tell my mom, I'm done going to church and I'm going to go to the golf course with Dad, I didn't church faith, spirituality was not on my agenda until I was absolutely brought to my knees. And the one thing that I think was a vision that captured me even in my darkest places was the Stations of the Cross. So in the Catholic church we went to, they had the placards of the Station of the Cross and what Jesus went through as he went to, his death and resurrection. And so that always stuck with me. And the one thing is like I could identify with that even in my darkest hour. And there were many of them. And so, like I said, wasn't until I was completely brought to my knees in the fetal position that I was willing to maybe do something somebody else's way. And once I started doing things other people's way and started listening and being coachable and teachable, my life changed dramatically. And that's what sobriety has done for me. I became a man in sobriety. I had an incredible group. My high school teacher. So when I got back into the rooms, that guy was the first guy I saw. So when I crawled into the rooms in September, 2003, he was the first guy I saw. And then, yeah, man, the journey started. Everything that I had hoped for in my life actually came true. Life continues to be all the meaning, the significance I was looking for has come to bear, and it comes to bear every single day for me.
Cool. I like that story about how you went to that meeting originally, and you didn't go back, and it didn't have an imprint on you right away, but it still left some kind of lasting effect that you never forgot. Running into your teacher from high school and all that stuff, and you never forgot that. Like me and my first experience going to a meeting over in the Seattle area, I went and I was intoxicated, but I told my now ex-wife that I was going to go to a meeting that day. I went to a bar and I was talking to my buddy at the bar, and I told my wife I was going to be at a meeting right now. I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, I know about a meeting. How about we go to one so you're not lying? And I went, and I recall from what I remember from it, everybody was so nice to me. It left an impression on me, but I didn't go to another meeting for like 8 years. And then as soon as I went in, I never forgot that initial impression it made, though, that there were a bunch of alcoholics who actually all had the same goal, which was to quit drinking, and that's what matters. So when I went back to a meeting 8 years later, which I'm now sober 19 months, I'm just kind of like, I never forgot that. So.
Well, and there's no doubt about it, man. And there's no doubt in my mind that those things happen for a reason. And whether we can see it or not, or we've got to do some more research out there, those things, those people leave an impression on us. And there's no doubt in my mind that God leads us to those places, to those people. So whether it happens right there, whether we're quickened by it, our spirit, our mind, and our body is quickened by it, or it happens when it happens. Because it just, all the cliches in Alcoholics Anonymous, people, they say what they want, but they are absolutely true. It takes what it takes. And, I was as a guy who was an athlete and who was, was self-sufficient and, had to pull himself up, when he got knocked down all the time. It's like, surrender?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I want to know what kind of led you to feel the need to surrender. Like, did you have a lot of people pushing you in the background, like relationships? I don't know if you were married or in relationships, or was your family noticing that you had a problem? Like, or was it just you kind of battling it on the inside, but putting on this front, you're okay on the outside?
Man, the what you just said. So it was, I was, so I was not married. It wasn't nearly ready or had the character or, just didn't even take myself down that road because I knew it would have ended in disaster for me. And I was actually too self-centered, too selfish. I'm like, I'm doing my thing.
That's how I was.
So, yep. And so you bring up another good point, man. So obviously mom and dad love me. I have one younger sibling, younger brother who loved me very much. And they were always rooting for me. But a lot of people kind of backed off. They're like, man, you're not listening. We have tried to help. And so we're going to back off and just let you do what you do. And so
but
go
you're
ahead.
pretty functional and self-sufficient, and you were still managing a career, still able to make money, make ends meet and all that. So not a lot of reasons for other people to be concerned, I take it.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Lost more jobs, got myself in situations where I was harmed, like I've mentioned, more than I would like to. And I lived with just with a burden, so to speak. So yeah, I'd be at the bar with my buddies or those type of things. And yes, I functioned. I never got to a place where I had to be admitted. There were a couple of there were a couple of times that I was in the emergency room because of things happening with alcohol and drugs, but still was able to kind of pick myself up and function to whatever degree. But I was absolutely dying inside.
Yeah.
And this idea of everything's good on the outside and absolute at war on the inside, or I was Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah. Totally get it.
Absolutely, man. And so when, Dr. Jekyll could keep everything together and smile and be, function socially until he passed out and was out in the corner or got his butt kicked because he couldn't protect himself because he was so drunk. And then that Mr. Hyde would come out. There were a couple of times, there were more than a couple of times where I left blacked out. I was a trophy guy. So I would walk out with the fifth of whatever I had, or the young lady every now and again, a whole big bag of cocaine or a bag of ecstasy. It was like I had to have a trophy. And then who knows what happened? There were a few times where it's like I had no idea where I went, and I woke up in my car, or I walked into a restaurant one time and this gal's like, "Do you remember me?" No, no idea. No
Yeah.
idea.
That happened to
No
me
idea.
quite a
No, I
few
do
times.
not. Pardon me. I do not remember you. And so, yes, but it was always the thing that was going to kill me was that internal struggle, that Mr. Hyde rage, anger, shame, hurt, pain, confusion, just not understanding. Through all of that, inside somewhere, whether it was the spirit of God living inside me, it's like there's a little hope. There's a little hope somewhere, but I couldn't ever get there on my own. It wasn't. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did it ever cross your mind, like a lot of times when I was struggling and going through this and putting on this front that I was doing better on the outside than I was on the inside? I was always avoiding the idea of counseling or therapy and stuff like that. Did you ever give those a chance before getting sober?
I did.
You did?
I
That does
did.
work out. Like, did you start to address any issues that you may have been battling, may have been numbing yourself with the drugs and alcohol?
Tried. So I did counseling. I was in counseling as a teenager. And so mom and dad divorced. Lot of instances there that played into how I medicated and numbed myself. So I was in counseling since I was 14, off and on. And it wasn't until, did I address a lot of the issues? Did I actually heal from them? No. Did I get a little perspective? Yes. Did it end up becoming too painful? Yes. Until the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain that I had to get sober and to do the work and to get, So I was, so I did quite a bit of therapy, quite a bit of counseling. It never really stuck until I was able to stop using and drinking. And like I said, it wasn't until that pain was greater to stay where I was than to change.
And that's when you decided to surrender?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And I had lost everything. A job again, no place to live. I had lost everything. Not that I had a ton to begin with. But I had lost everything, and it was either going to be, okay, man, you're either jails, institutions, or death, or you're going to see if you can actually make something of your life. That was one day at a time. That was like, okay, can I not drink or use for one day? And then, man, and all of the work that Alcoholics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, all of that literature, all the things that, the inventories, all of it, it gets below the surface, gets to the substance of who you are. And there it is phenomenal how that works.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I needed. I wasn't going to run anymore. I wasn't going to run from it. I was going to sit in it. I was going to look at it. I was going to write about it. And I was going to share with people. I was going to share with men specifically, like I was saying a little bit ago, the men at these men's meetings that I would go to early in sobriety that first year, every Wednesday night, man, those guys helped me become a man. And they said, you've got to take accountability, man. We're going to love your butt through it, but you're going to do it. Nobody's going to do it for you. And so, yes, it's another great question. And even into my when I got married, still dealing with some insecurity, with some fear, with some of those things that I never dealt with. And so there were times during our marriage. We've been married, Carrie and I have been married for 17 years, and it's a miracle, and it's been
Congratulations.
awesome. But thank you. It took some of that to bring up the things that I couldn't access that I had to work through. And so, man, there's no shame. There's no shame in going to counseling or seeing a professional at all. And if you can gain perspective, if you can gain a sense and connect the dots of, okay, maybe this is why this was happening in my life, and I can let it go.
Yeah, well said. What was early sobriety like then? Say you're 31 years old when you got sober? And what was like the first, say, few weeks like, where you just kind of putting yourself in a regimen of going to meetings on a regular basis and soaking it all in? Did you start kind of like changing your friend group? I mean, what are some of the adjustments you made, and was it difficult?
Yeah, it's those three things exactly. So I immersed myself in meetings. And once I started to hear other people's stories and listening and being like, oh, I can identify. They're like me. And I felt comfortable enough to start sharing some of my story. And all of a sudden, like the big book talks about, a fellowship started to grow up around me and my friends. And so all the buddies I hung around with, that was done. That was done. Now, am I on a group thread with my high school buddies today? You bet I am.
Yep.
But I don't have to engage.
Boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, they respect what I've done, and they understand. At that point, it was a 180, and it was a new family for me. Part of that, Ryan, a huge part of that was sobriety softball. So
Nice.
It was a natural in for me, with my history and who God made me to be, that I could go out and fellowship first. And so it was part of a fellowship, and I was still a super competitive guy. And it was so funny. I remember, I remember the first day they're like, "Hey, Britt, come out and play with us. We're going to practice. We're going to practice softball." And I'm like,
That sounds like
"Practice
fun.
softball?" Right. Oh, at that point early this is my prideful, sinful, not understanding nature of what they were actually doing. I'm like, "Practice softball? Don't you know who the hell I am? I'm the drunk who lost it all from drugs and alcohol, had a pro career that could have happened, and I lost it all because I wanted to do it somebody else's way." And so, yes. And so it was incredibly fun. And when I realized, hey, we're out here having a good time. We're not out here trying to work on the craft of softball and be so, be so serious about our technique and blah, blah, blah. We're out here having fun. And it was one of the best days of my life in early sobriety. And so that group of people played softball for 10, 15 years in sobriety. We did everything together. We camped, we ate, we traveled, we skied, we snowmobiled, we snowboarded, we did it all. And that was my family. And so
cool.
Those people are still my greatest friends today. And so early in sobriety, it was exactly what I needed. And they weren't afraid to tell me the truth.
Yep, gotta respect that. That's what I learned going into meetings and stuff. I mean, I wish we had a sober softball team out here, unless there's one I don't know about, but I live in kind of a small town in Idaho, so. But just
Okay.
going into the meetings and making friends with them and realizing that we can do activities sober, go golfing sober. I mean, I used to have a beer hole, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
now we can actually go sober and it's fun, and I don't lose track of the ball as often, and I keep my score a little better. There's so many benefits to that. I mean, there's so many activities we can do sober and enjoy ourselves even more and have memories. And then the friendships develop authentically, and that's the best part.
There's no doubt about it, man. There's no doubt about it. And they're born out of healing and pain, but born out of living life a completely different way and living with substance, living with the most essential stuff that life gives us. And I mean, I just chased what was superficial for so long. I chased immediate gratification. I chased all the things that I thought looked good. You mentioned it earlier, looked good on the outside when I was dying on the inside. And that was that anchor of people, that anchor of recovery, that anchor of a spiritual life saved my life. And it is the basis for all that I do today.
And tell me more about what you're doing today. It sounds like you got into coaching football, quarterback specifically, and all that. Like, what led you from like football into coaching men on personal growth?
Yeah, so it was I still coach today. It's it'll be, so I started, so I had coached a little high school football even when I was active in my addiction. And then I stopped when I got sober. I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then that was the whole coaching thing was a nudge, was a call from God on my life to say, I want you to coach. I want you to be on the football field. I want you to be in the classroom. And so that's what I did. And another benefit of sobriety was going back to school. So shoot, dude, when I was young, I graduated high school with a 1.4 GPA. And so had a ton of shame around that. And God redeemed that. He said, Britt, I'm going to send you back to school. You're going to coach. And man, I graduated, got my degree, got a master's degree. And it's like all of that was redeemed. All of that I could just let go of and be like, that's not who you were.
Yeah.
That was you're a victim of your circumstances and obviously of the choices you made, but that's not who you are. And God has given me an identity in so many different ways. And so with that said, coached for, this will be year 19 in coaching. I'm now a dean of students at a high school. So I taught high school for 10 years. This is year 4 as a dean of students at a high school. And that's been a great experience. And so coaching was a natural in for this idea of bringing that to men and seeing out in the community, seeing out in the world, men who were stuck, who are lost, who are dying every single day. What I believe, what I know, a revelation that God gave me in a vision was seeing men grow strong and sturdy like oak trees. I could see this when he gave me the idea. So the book came out in 2022. It took me 4 years to write it. So all of this, I started journaling and writing more about my story. And then the vision of men being rooted in a relationship with God, growing strong, sturdy branches, roots, a trunk. Oak tree roots, if you know anything about them, are the deepest immovable roots that are ever. And they give life. And so I saw men being this. And so I'm like, this is an idea for a book. And so I wrote the book in the hopes of helping as many men and women as possible to grow strong and sturdy by digging deep in the work that recovery shows us. Digging deep in the things that we fear, the things that hold us back, our anxieties. And then so all through the book, I talk about my experience and how I became strong and sturdy like an oak tree. And where the source piece of it comes in is God. And so God is the source of all that we do. And so I am a Christian as well. And so God being the source, meaning the source of service, meaning the source of strength, kind of like a backstop for people, for your family. And when we make him our source, we serve. We create belonging. And so obviously knowing who Jesus was, he flipped leadership on its head. He was the king, he is the king, but he came to serve. And so it was a good metaphor for if we're able to serve, if we're able to lay down our lives, if we're able to dig deep, with God and with a relationship with Jesus, we're going to grow up. We're going to grow strong and sturdy, immovable roots, and be that in our community, be that in our jobs, be that in our world, in the world. And so that was the vision that was given. So that message weaves through my entire story. I published a workbook to the book as well. And so currently selling those, promoting that, do some speaking every now and again on that topic and more. And so it was really a vision that God gave me, a revelation of my life, who I've become, and wanted to share that with the world. And so I get to do that not only with high school kids, but men, friends, small groups, and then just put what I believe this inspired message is out in the world and help people work through creating meaning, creating significance in their lives, and creating substance, creating the most important stuff in our lives. Because, man, it's really easy to get distracted, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're focused on the essential stuff, like becoming the best man we can be, growing strong and sturdy in a spiritual base, which then creates character, creates integrity, creates an idea, a position where we are what we think, what we say, how we behave, how we feel, line up with how we act, what we say, and we have integrity. And so it's a life mission for me, uh, along with coaching, to help men, to help people in general live a life of significance, substance. Obviously, what does all of that lead to? It leads you to your purpose.
Exactly.
I mean, I
Love
firmly
that.
believe that was, that was shown to me once I did the work, once I dug deep, and just want as many people as possible to live their God-given best and see that no matter what happened in your life, obviously, I had a tough go of it. Many other people have. That can all be erased because we've got a graceful, loving God who wants the best for us and wants to give our God-given best. And so I hope to go on and help many, many, many people find that.
So a lot of the book, a lot of it's about kind of a memoir about your own story and relating it to faith and growth and kind of like the metaphor of like a tree, I don't know, being strong and sturdy and things like that.
Yes,
And
sir.
then, so like, what's the core message do you want readers to take from the book, would you say?
The core message is if you were able to dig deep with a relationship with God, you're going to grow strong and sturdy roots, and you are going to become that oak tree that leaves a legacy for generations. You're going to become that source of strength and substance that helps other people do the same and protects people.
And take me through like the workbook as well. What would that be like? Like, what's
Yep.
the first steps if you open the workbook? How do you start?
Yep. So the workbook starts with basically signing up to say, okay, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to make a commitment to myself and so I get really specific and deep when I talk about not only your relationship with yourself, relationship with your father, the perspective, that we have in relation to ourselves and relation to the world and how we interact with the world. And so it goes deep into those things that held us back, the why of who we are. And then it goes down to as you get in and start to uncover some of those things that are painful, those emotions that have held you back from building that emotional resilience. And then you can discover what that is. So you uncover it, then you discover it, your relationship to it, and then you can discard it. You can start to let go of those things so that you can then, as a man or a woman, step into your purpose, understand yourself in relation to you, to the world, to God, to your purpose, and then start to act from there. Start to build on the foundation and develop those strong roots that allow you to not only find your purpose, help and serve others to do that, and really live your God-given best. What is your God-given best? What does he want for me? How can I be of maximum value, and how can I derive meaning? Haven't I derived meaning and significance out of my life? Because there's no doubt in my mind that everybody is looking for that. They try to find it in money, relationships, travel, all the things that look really good. But man, there's no doubt in my mind they're looking for an anchor. They're looking for depth in their lives, and the workbook helps bring all of the stuff, all the stuff to the surface, so that you can clear that away, and then you can actually start to step into who you are really meant to be.
I like that. And you may have kind of answered this question already, but I kind of want more of elaborating on it.
Yeah, man.
If someone feels stuck in life, what's the first step you'd tell them to take, like right off the bat?
So yeah, if you feel stuck, it's time to actually do some work. So we can if we don't do anything, we're going to stay stuck. And so the first thing that I would tell them is to start to do some work. And it can be as simple as, I mean, if you're not buying, a book or a workbook or some type of program, the first thing you can do is start writing about your day, writing about your emotions, your thoughts, the places where you were fearful or angry. Because what happens is, and Ryan, I know you know this, the more we keep it inside, the more power it has over us. And so the very first thing I would tell them to do is to start digging, start doing some work. And it can be as simple as journaling about your day, reaching out to that trusted person. I mean, it could be mom or dad. It could be your good buddy. It could, whoever it is, start bringing some of that stuff out of your mind, out of your spirit, out of your heart, so that you can start to get proper perspective on it.
I like that.
And then you can go buy the Oak Tree Source book and try the workbook and really start to dig deep and really get free. Because really, and again, it's another piece of it too, man, is freedom.
Yep.
Getting
Freedom.
free emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I have always been, so when I was a kid. Shoot, I was a kid when I was free. The last time I was free before I got sober was when I was a boy. And so I was so heavily burdened by so much stuff and so weighed down by so much shit that I couldn't get free. And I think maybe that is the most important thing that my program, that the resources I have offer, is for somebody to get free emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And that's where life becomes better than we thought it ever could be.
And I love how you say God-given best. Like, what would that look like? Because you need to give your God-given best in order to become free. But what does that look like, not only in practice, but in life? Like, are those associated?
Yeah, there's no doubt they are. And so giving your God-given best is simply this: letting him lead the way. And so when I got sober, when I started to develop a relationship with God, I decided to live my life his way. So left to my own devices, I'd still be out there in sales trying to make money. But he's like, no, I've got a purpose for you, man. You're going to go coach and teach. You're going to go help bring life to people. You're going to go pour life into people in my name. And so that is for me. So it's purpose. It's my God-given best. It's acting from that thing that's burning inside of me, which is to help men, women, whoever will listen, that you can find freedom. You can find passion and purpose in your life. You can live your life like you're a soul on fire, and you don't have to ever look back. And so our God-given best is that. Who do we show up as? With joy, with passion, with humility. Man, I know, I meet so many people in recovery or so many people that have been through stuff that are genuinely humble. And they understand that it's so much bigger than them. And that God-given best dovetails perfectly into our lives. Whether you're a dad, a husband, you run your own business, you are out there doing podcasts and media, you are chasing something that's good and whole. That obviously that could be construed as your job, but it's your life. It's how you live your life. Whether, man, there's no doubt in my mind, you hold a door open for somebody, you spark up a conversation with somebody that you would never spark up a conversation with. You give them a compliment. You just giving them a little encouragement. That is spirit-led living, and that's living from what who God made us to be.
Yeah.
Or signing up for that service project when you're like, shoot, the last thing I want to do is go down to Skid Row and feed those dudes breakfast because, man, the Colorado Avalanche are on at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
and I'm not going to be back. But you know what? My son and I went down. So our high school has a partnership with a organization called Sox Place in downtown Denver. And in this, I mean, so that really, this is part of it as well. I took my son. I watched him. We went with another group of teenagers, me and another adult facilitator, watch these kids. And it's for me specifically, my son, serve, work his tail off. And really, that's in your life. If you're passing it on, if you're making disciples of however that looks, whatever that looks like for you and in where God has placed you, that's really living your God-given best. It's helping people live that. But man, watching my son work his tail off, engage with people, seeing a totally different side of life that I pray he never finds himself in, that got to see and empathize with another side of life, and he engaged in it. He embraced it.
That's so
And
probably beautiful to see.
oh man, Ryan, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so that your God-given best, man, is a way of life. And when you follow that, great things are going to happen.
I love that answer.
It takes work to clear away the perspectives, the beliefs, the things that hold us back. But it's attainable. His grace is sufficient for all we do, and his love never fails.
I like that. Just being a avid sports fan, I got a kind of question about, you were a quarterback in high school?
Yes, sir.
And and you work with quarterbacks. So like, what does playing quarterback teach about leadership that most people miss, would you say? Because I think of it as a leadership position. Do you feel like you've applied that to all facets of life? Does that have anything to do?
There's no doubt about it. It's the toughest position to play in sports, in my opinion. And when it comes to leadership, quarterbacks get all the glory, right? They get all the glory. Granted, they get all the criticism as well, but the greatest ones put team before themselves, and they're not trying to be. They're leading from the front, but they're leading from the foundation.
And being the person off the field too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same. They
Yeah.
are the same. And
Yeah.
that's where that alignment happens. Yes, I have coached Division I quarterbacks. I have coached kids who have played in high school and no further. The one trait that they had in common was their character and their integrity. And that may not look that way from the outside because they're passionate or they're boisterous or what have you. But man, when you get them in the locker room, you get them walking around in their day-to-day lives. The Division I guys are incredibly grateful to get an opportunity. And their character is the thing that shines through. In a position that's a look at me position, they're pointing out. And so that would be one that I think not everybody understands.
Yeah.
Takes that. So to win big, it takes that. And you see, I mean, you see the Matthew Staffords of the world, you see the Patrick Mahomes of the world, Josh Allen, these guys that are playing, they are the best players in the world at their position. What are they doing, man? Matthew Stafford, I don't know if you saw the ESPYs or not. He's up there with his 4 little girls and just giving praise and, and honor to everybody else. And that's not act. It's not an act. And that's why they are where they are.
Exactly.
Because they live it.
Yep. Successful people, not just on the field, just good people.
Amen to that.
With integrity. So yeah, no, I love that answer. I had to ask that question because I know being QB requires a lot of leadership. And
I'm so
couple
glad you did.
couple other questions, just hearing about where you were, age 31, just the drinking and the situations you were in, to seeing like the transformation over the course of 20 years, it's incredible to see. And you're obviously a natural born leader, and you were meant to spread the word, and not just through books, but just, also coaching and everything. If everything in your life was like stripped away, like what would still define you?
Mm.
A tough question, I know, but I just feel like you've accomplished so much, and it's such a huge transformation that I got to ask, like, what would still define you?
It would be my relationship with God. There's no doubt about it, man. There's no doubt about it, because when I had nothing, when I was flat on my face, he picked me up. And if if I never, I still have a lot of big dreams and goals around coaching to this day. If I lost everything and never, those dreams and goals never came true, or he never put those in my life, he never orchestrated it, I would give him the praise. I would give him the reverence, because that he defines me. He has defined me. And I owe everything in my life to a relationship with God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. And I know I could still be a baby. I can still be irritated and impatient. You should see me on the road sometimes, Ryan. Holy moly. And I fall short every single day, but I'm nothing. I'm nothing without him. And he gets the credit every day, every minute, every hour, even when there's nothing, even when there was nothing. He was the one who was there. And where I am today, he gets all the credit. So
Everything you're doing in coaching, he's speaking through you, right? Is that how you look at it?
Yes,
Yeah. And
every
it's
day.
crazy. I get this confirmation just now. I'm kind of steering off topic a little bit, but also on topic. But just I meet with my friend every Tuesday morning before our meeting that I chair on Tuesdays, and he talks a lot about God, and he said a lot of the same things that you just said in the last 30 minutes about God. And just, sometimes I'm not fully there yet, and some people aren't always there when it comes to the faith conversation. But like hearing the confirmation, a few hours later, talking to you, it's just incredible. It's just, he's
Man,
obviously speaking through my friend, through you, through me. It's incredible. So it just kind of opens my eyes a little.
that is awesome, man.
Yeah.
And amen. That is exactly, that's who he is. That's what he does. And yeah, man, once you get a glimpse of who he is, you'll never be the same. And I have gotten a lot of glimpses, and even when things haven't worked out, and man, I have not, I want to be a head football coach. I have not been a head football coach yet. I've done everything else. I've coordinated coach positions, done everything else, assistant head coach, and he has not opened that door for me
At
yet.
this pace, though, I feel like you'll be there, and I'm sure you believe in it
I
too.
do believe it.
With
And
faith, you'll get there.
it's been difficult. It's been really difficult, professionally, I should say,
Yeah.
because I thought for sure there were going to be a couple of doors open, and they didn't get open.
Is that the last time you were kind of truly humbled, is not getting that opportunity quite yet?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yep. And yeah, no doubt about it. Cause there was one in particular. I thought that door was going to open, and it looked like everything was being orchestrated in that way, and it did not. And yes, truly humbled.
Well, it'll happen with your attitude and persistence, and it seems like your faith. I think it's going to happen. So,
I
just with
appreciate
time.
that.
Yeah.
I truly believe it, man. And yeah, man, just keep an open heart and an open spirit, man. And he will keep talking. He will
Yep.
keep speaking.
So for my listeners out there, one of the final questions I like to ask, and hearing your story, I'd love to know what you have to say. For listeners out there still struggling, actively struggling, sober curious, new in recovery, what advice would you give based on your experience with everything? Not just recovery from alcohol and drugs, but just like getting into faith and believing in yourself and becoming a leader, a natural leader, and all that. What advice would you give?
The advice I would give is this. It's very straightforward. Don't ever give up. But when you are in your darkest moment and you don't see a way out, and the only way that you see out is not one that's going to keep you here on this earth, sit, take a deep breath, and understand that there is a God who loves you, who formed you, who knows everything about you, even if you can't see it. My prayer will be for anybody who listens to this that's still struggling in whatever way it is. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You just need to keep walking towards it. No matter what's going on in your mind and your heart and your spirit, you just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other and walking towards it. I promise good things will happen. And like our Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book says, don't leave before the miracle happens.
I love that. That's perfect. Would you like to shout out once again, shout out the name of your book, and I'll pop it on the screen when I edit, and shout out your Instagram handle or how people can look and see your post and all that stuff.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you, buddy. So the book is The Oak Tree Source, Becoming a Man of Strength, Substance, and Spirituality. The workbook is titled the same. And ladies, you can do the work as well. I can be reached on Instagram at Britt, B-R-I-T-T, Gusmus, G-U-S-M-U-S 711. You'll find me out there every day with inspiring content and encouragement and trying to make this world a better place. You can reach me on Facebook as well at Britt Gusmus, B-R-I-T-T, G-U-S-M-U-S. And then you can find me on Twitter with some of the football stuff at Britt Gusmus as well.
Love it. Thank you so much. And sometimes I like to ask, you've already said so many powerful things naturally throughout the conversation, but is there a quote that stands out in your head right now that you'd like to share? Like a quote that you live by?
It's this one that I live by. It is from John Eldridge's book, Wild at Heart. And it's this. It's let them feel the weight of who you are and then let them deal with it.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, man. Just, we get in our heads about what people think or how this is going to go. And man, when God is just telling us he's calling us to go full bore, man.
Yeah.
So that's the one I live by.
I love that. And that is a book that I physically have, and I have not opened it, so I need to. And the person who gave it to me is probably going to watch this and shake their head that I haven't opened it. But, I'll get on it. Thank you so much, Britt. I appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah, you bet, Ryan. Great to meet you. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, I stopped.
Rock Bottom with Ryan. No bullshit, just recovery.